Hi everybody, it's Charlie again from Yoga Barn. Lovingly, laughingly calling this coconuts with yoga nuts. I've got a beautiful yoga nut right here. Her name's Kabira. So Kabira is not only one of my dear friends, but she's actually one of the very first people that I met when I initially came to Bali. I came to Bali back in 2004. I moved here in 2005. And it was around that time that I met Kat. She had short black hair, like this big, and I had super long hair. And she was one of our very first yoga teachers before the Yoga Barn even existed, when we were having volunteer by donation classes in the cafe, third floor above cafe, and a large class was about 2 people.
Sometimes 8.
And Kat taught with us for a number of years. She spread her wings to fly in 2015. She's taught all over the world. And who knows, maybe one day we'll rope her in to come back and be with us. So hello, Kat. We're happy to have you here.
I'm very happy to be here.
It's lovely to have you. And we're just sharing with our lovely audience out there the transformation of Yoga Barn and kind of how we came to be. And so I want to just ask you about your memories of those early days. What comes to mind?
I love it because I actually saw the moment when the land was bought and we were told that we were going to build this thing called the Yoga Barn. And because our classes were like 4 to 8 people, I was like, yeah, nice idea. But it was fun to see how suddenly we had this space and it started filling up with people. And the reason why I chose to teach in Bali was that there's a magic here and there's a community aspect. So it was always like good friends getting together and just practicing together. And it still feels that way. I mean, I have to say that from 2007 is when the barn started, and we had that like one studio where we'd all gather to do our ecstatic dance in our classes. How many studios are there now? Like 6, 7. So yeah, but it's been fun because I think we had to build every time, because suddenly all of the core teachers were like, we want to run trainings. And so you had to build spaces for us to all run trainings.
We had to allow you to grow with us.
Yeah. And there was an explosion of humans coming to Bali as well. I think, and what was fun, one of the reasons why I started with Yoga Barn was that it was the first studio. I mean, there was really no other place to come in and practice and to come in and teach. So yeah, it's been a very organic expansion. But still, my heart, I mean, this was my longest yoga home that I've had anywhere on the planet, as you know. So it's still, to me, a yoga home.
And tell me your perspective from someone who's never been to Bali. What would and who's starting their own process of self-inquiry, and they find themselves here. What particular to Bali and or Yoga Barn specifically would you give them as words of wisdom?
Well, Bali's the place of magic and transformation, and you show up and you might have a plan, but you can't really follow it. So I always recommend just let Bali take you. The good thing about Yoga Barn is that there's good accommodations, so if you're stressed out about that, you've got a place to sleep and you've got good food. But also, Bali will start to bring out edges that you didn't even know that you had. I mean, I know for myself, showing off my short, spiky punk rock hair and motorcycle boots, I was like a little bit anti-feminine. Love it now. But
you've transformed.
I've definitely transformed, and there's a magic here that we're not in charge of, but there's a reason why everyone feels the call. And so I think Yoga Barn appeals because there's so many different teachers. Like, there's no teacher that's the same, which I think is really important. So you can drop in, and whatever it is that you're needing for someone to hold space for you to connect and grow, that's here. You've got your therapist. Actually, just the other day, there was a woman from another place that came and said, oh my God, I had back pain for 3 days, and then I got a massage here at Yoga Barn, the Esalen massage. And she's like, I could finally walk again. So, it's like practitioners who actually do real work.
Hard to transform when you can't walk, huh?
Yeah. So it's like, because, where do you get your massages? And so it's like, this is a reputable place. And it's just a place to be held and a place to hang out. I mean, one of the beauties of these grounds is that there's just a lot of space now. So you can find like a little ballet and grab a coconut. You can go find some little trees and just hang out. And everyone's journeying together, because I think everyone who's coming isn't really sure why they've shown up, knows that there's some stuff that's going to happen, is probably going to end up feeling quite a bit of things, and there's going to be a big change that happens. And then there's a sudden community. There are a few places that you can go to in the world where you can travel alone and find your friends, and maybe even go and travel with your friends elsewhere as well.
How true.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have any moments from those early days that immediately come to mind? You go, oh
Okay,
my goodness.
Jason's going to cut this one, but so as a teacher, because I'd already been teaching, started teaching in 2002. So I started teaching at the Cafe Studio in 2006, and you had a lot of people who were just experimenting and exploring. So I got to learn how to work with people who would show up drunk to class, which I haven't seen recently, and also a man who got so overwhelmed by, because I'm so intense, by my class that he'd have to go out and have cigarette breaks. and I could like look over
during the class.
Yeah.
Walk out.
Yeah.
To have a toke.
And I would like watch out and like look at him, and then he'd come back in.
There's no smoking on the Yoga Barn grounds, just FYI. Yes, continue.
And I think also just because this has always been a place of gathering. And so, because there really wasn't much going on in this town, like, unless we made something happen. I mean, really. Like, if we wanted to have a party, like, we had to have it happen at the Yoga Barn.
I remember our durian parties.
Exactly. And that was the other thing, was that I loved, because I still love ecstatic dance. I mean, there's a reason why it's like, it sells out all the time and there's a magic, but to be there at the inception, where it was like the same 20 of us gathering, and you were like one of my favorite ecstatic dance teachers, and then you would bring durian. And there's people who don't know durian. It's the smelliest fruit that tastes amazing.
King of fruit.
And it's so we would do these crazy dances with you, and then you would bring, because you know the durian to bring, and you bring the best ones out, and we would just eat them and be happy. And
even more stinky.
So happy and stinky, but so happy.
Thank you, Kat Kabira. She's an amazing human being, and I love her dearly, and she's an incredible teacher. So if you ever get the chance, either here or elsewhere, because she teaches all over the world all the time.
Yes, it's true.
The lovely and talented Kat Kabira. Thank you for coming and chatting with me today.
You're welcome.